Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a totally relatable morning nightmare, a plumbing disaster. We're talking about a simple leaking tap that quickly spirals into a full-blown household crisis. But hidden within all this everyday chaos is a genuinely profound lesson. It's a lesson about the psychology of problem solving, the blind spots of adult logic, and how just a simple shift in perspective can fix what seems absolutely impossible.
So let me ask you, have you ever missed a really simple solution just because you were thinking way too much like an adult? As we gain experience, education, and expertise, we really tend to pride ourselves on our ability to see the big picture, right? We learn to understand complex systems, dependencies, structural flaws. But here's the catch. This sophisticated way of thinking actually comes with a massive hidden cost. We get so completely focused on the giant, overarching complexities of a problem that we become literally blind to the immediate, actionable steps sitting right in front of us. Let's look at exactly how this happens through the lens of our story.
Picture this. The inciting incident is incredibly simple. A tap is leaking. But right away, we see two very different adult priorities violently clash. Mama looks at the leak and is deeply, understandably concerned about wasting water. But Papa walks in, and his immediate focus is solely on his own morning routine. He's stressing out that he'll have to go to work without taking a bath. When Mama urges him to do something because, hey, it's summer and water is scarce, Papa just dismisses her. He says bluntly, "Why do you want me to do something? Call a plumber instead." Rather than looking at the physical problem of the tap, he immediately passes the buck to an external system, escalating a tiny leak into a major disagreement driven by stress and sheer inconvenience.
Okay, let's dive into this because this is where the logistics turn a small leak into a compounding crisis. Look at these constraints piling up. They're facing summer water scarcity, meaning literally every drop counts. But they are totally trapped by the schedule of their building. The estate office doesn't even open until 10 a.m. And the plumber, well, he normally doesn't arrive until 4 p.m. On top of all that, their plumbing isn't isolated. The man line feeds 5 different apartments. Suddenly, fixing a tap isn't just about grabbing a wrench. It's about navigating office hours, waiting on third-party schedules, and managing communal infrastructure. The adults are completely overwhelmed by the structural complexity of their environment.
But right as the situation is spinning completely out of control, a new voice enters the fray. 6-year-old Arian looks at the chaos and asks a very simple, very direct question. Can't we close the main pipeline valve? Kids naturally possess this beautiful bias for immediate, logical action. Arian doesn't care about the estate office hours. He couldn't care less about the plumber's schedule. He sees water coming out of a pipe, and his brain immediately goes to the absolute most direct mechanism to stop it, the main valve. He's just looking for the most direct path from problem to solution.
But of course, adult logic swiftly steps in to shut this down. Papa immediately rejects Arian's idea, explaining that the shared pipeline is a bad design because shutting the main valve would cut off water to 5 other apartments. Now, Papa's reasoning is completely sound from an adult systemic perspective. He understands the dependencies. But notice what happens here. Papa's understanding of the system's flaws, that bad design, completely paralyzes him. His knowledge of why things cannot be done prevents him from searching for what can be done. And so, the crisis continues.
Fast forward to 4 in the evening. The supposed expert finally arrives. We are all expecting immediate relief, right? Instead, the plumber looks at the issue and delivers a crushing, spectacularly unhelpful verdict. Nothing can be done about it. The entire line is rusted. We need to change it. Think about how incredibly absurd this is in the moment. The plumber diagnoses the ultimate, macro-level root cause, the rusted line, but entirely fails to address the immediate crisis of the water flooding the apartment. The expert is completely blinded by the massive structural failure.
Mama is literally begging him to just turn the water off, but the plumber doubles down on his constraints. He insists he requires a full pipe replacement coordinated through the estate office. He repeats Papa's point that he can't cut water to the other apartments, and then, here's the absolute kicker, he reveals he has to rush off to beat 6 p.m. peak traffic home after attending to 3 more complaints. The supposed expert literally prioritizes his commute over a flooding apartment, leaving Mama completely stranded. The professional has failed. The leak just keeps going. Now, what's really interesting here is how Arian breaks down the problem. The adults have completely given up, but the 6-year-old hasn't. He steps up and applies pure, localized logic. First, he notices a crucial little detail. The line is leaking from the left. Second, he asks Mama to confirm a fact. Isn't the left side the hot water side? She confirms it is. Third, he delivers the solution. Then we will just close the inlet connection to the geyser from where the hot water is coming.
Aryan completely ignores the rusted main pipe, the 5 other apartments, the estate office, the whole shebang. He focuses purely on the local, step-by-step path of the water right in front of him.
And the execution? It is instantaneous and deeply satisfying. Recognizing the brilliance of this incredibly simple plan, Mama gets a ladder. Aryan climbs up, reaches the specific geyser inlet valve, and turns it off. Just like that, the water stops. The relief is palpable, and the immediate crisis is instantly cured. They didn't fix the rusted main line, they didn't disrupt the neighbors, and they definitely didn't need the estate office. By simply isolating the exact source of the local leak, a 6-year-old solved a problem that completely defeated 3 capable adults.
Later that evening, Mama and Papa sit down to analyze the whole crazy incident, and they're struck by a profound realization. Maybe they tend to overcomplicate things, or they simply don't try to solve the real issues by breaking them into smaller steps. They realize that their adult capacity to see the big picture, the rusted pipes, the shared infrastructure, the building rules, actually acted as a blinder. They failed because they couldn't zoom in. They just couldn't break the overwhelming scenario down into manageable, localized components. And this brilliantly illustrates the core takeaway of our explainer today. Notice the stark contrast here. The adult approach is completely paralyzed because it fixates on the obvious large fix, replacing an entire rusted main line. Because that massive fix is impossible in the moment, the adult literally does nothing. The child's approach, however, is entirely actionable. It ignores the intimidating macro problem and breaks the situation into smaller steps to find a localized solution, shutting off the specific geyser inlet. It's an absolute masterclass in separating the immediate symptom from the long-term systemic disease.
Now, the story does conclude by noting that the actual structural repair, replacing those rusted pipes, did happen later. The large fix was eventually necessary, of course. But for that immediate, highly stressful afternoon, Aryan earned the silent admiration of both his parents and eventually the plumber. He demonstrated that while experts and adults are definitely required to fix complex systems, sometimes you really just need the clear, unburdened eyes of a child to survive a crisis.
So I want to leave you with this final thought to apply to your own daily life and work. Think about a persistent, stressful problem you are dealing with right now. Are you waiting for a massive systemic change? Are you waiting for management approval, or a new budget, or a complete overhaul of a process? Ask yourself, what obvious large fix is blinding you to a simple solution today? Where is the geyser inlet in your current crisis, and what is actually stopping you from simply climbing a ladder and turning it off? Keep that in mind next time you find yourself overcomplicating a problem. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.